Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So, just an introduction to the course. So, the course essentially is about gender and sexuality in Islam. Why this course? Simple reasons, right? We, meaning the person listening to this recording now, I'm assuming is a religious or Islamically aligned person who is somewhat caught between two extremes, an Eastern / and a Western concept of gender and sexuality, which are both off. Forgive me, of course, the Western and Eastern, these are huge oversimplifications, and the perspectives of gender and sexuality in the East and in the West are far more complex and far more variegated, but just for convenience. So we have certain Eastern perversions. In my exposure to ethnic Muslims, I like to call it the Catholic Muslim. The Catholic Muslim is a devout yet ignorant Muslim. They are ignorant of revelation. They don't perhaps read revelation in a language that they understand. They don't interact with it. They're ignorant of hadith. They're ignorant of fiqh. They're ignorant of the tradition. So what happens is then you have certain distortions of gender roles. There's often violence involved in these things. There's challenge. There's always a continual fight. What is a man? What is a woman? Is really, really off. There's misplaced taboo culture, which makes things very, very awkward. It makes kind of things to do with intimacy navigable. Like you can't even talk about it. Sexual abuse can happen, and it can't be spoken about because it's too much of a taboo. Bedroom problems are not solved because it's too much of a taboo. Things are shameful unnecessarily and awkward unnecessarily, and things are put in the wrong place. Right? Hikmah in Arabic means to put things in the right place, right? And dhulm in Arabic means to put things in the wrong place. So hikmah usually translates as wisdom, is the opposite of putting things in the wrong place. So there is such thing as taboo, there's such things as shame, but when it's put in the wrong place and dealt with in the wrong way, it results in oppression and harm and many, many, many issues. This self-same person, even if they're living in the East, is exposed to this revolting, weird Western interaction of gender and sexuality. So these are reactions we have to understand, right? There's many things that we are experiencing. The Western culture as a dominant culture is a reaction to something that we weren't a part of, right? It's important to understand that. Sometimes we're part of them, but usually we're not part of them. So we have these reactions to Western abuses. So we weren't necessarily part of the whole Western abuse of gender and gender roles. We weren't there, but we're seeing a reaction to it that is very violent and very gross. The collapse of gender, right? That there's what is healthy in a man is not welcome. What is healthy in a woman is not welcome, and all sorts of extreme things going here and there, right? It's very gross. It's very low. It's very untasteful. Sexuality is made public, right? And there's no shame in that which is immoral, and there's no privacy. So that which was sacred and special is now just debauched and horrible and gross, right? And the Prophet ﷺ told us that this is how things would be at the end of time. So it's important to know basically where we are, and so we want to reclaim and realign the narrative. Okay, well, what is it then? Are we Eastern or are we Western? We're neither nor. Right? I am not American, nor am I Pakistani. I am not English, nor am I Arab. I'm not this or not that. I'm Muslim. Right? We align with the Quran and Sunna. And so when we read the Quran and Sunna, it's a very different paradigm. It's a totally different paradigm. The language, the norms, the way things are looked is very, very different. Totally different. It's neither A nor B. Right? It's neither A nor B. Nor is it even in between, because both are just totally off. And so in short, extreme brevity, man is supposed to be selfless, not egotistic and bossy, but he's supposed to be strong and yet merciful and provide leadership. This is the paradigm of the Quran. And woman is supposed to be selfless, So it's not get back at the man. That's not part of the whole system, because she's also selfless. But yet she's proactive. She's part of society. And she's a companion and an aid to her husband. She's not there to fight her husband. Her husband's not there to fight her. Sexuality is real. So it is not so awkward that we can't talk about it. And it is healthy. And it is navigable. Meaning we can actually deal with it. But it's private. So it's neither public, that has to be thrown out in front of everybody, nor is it so private that you can't even deal with it. You can't even talk about it with your own spouse. And so we'll talk about these things bit by bit. So realign it with the Quran and Sunna. When we read the Quran and Sunna, it's very clear. And realign it with our heritage. So there's literature on this. There's literature on these topics, right? So there's such thing as an Adab al-Nisa literature, right? And so here's a kind of a short list, right? And you mentioned this Ibn al-Habib, right? Ibn Habib al-Maliki is very, very early Andalusian scholar. So he dies, I think, 3 years before Imam Ahmad, right? Imam Ahmad, the teacher of Imam Bukhari, great Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. And he wrote this book, Adab al-Nisa, and he spoke about marriage, he spoke about intimacy, and he spoke about these things based on hadith and the Salaf, the ideas, how the Salaf spoke about these things. Ibn Hazm al-Zahiri, also Andalusian scholar, he didn't explicitly talk about these things in that sense, but he wrote on his book, Tawq al-Hamam, the flight of the dove, he spoke about love, right? And he spoke about these things in a very natural way. And if we just look at the literature and the kind of things that scholars talk about in general, when we read the heritage of the Sahaba and the Tabi'een and the Tabi'een, and religious people, love, romance, intimacy are not taboo things. They're not to be shared publicly, but they are there, they exist. Ibn al-Jawzi has a book, I believe, Ahkam al-Nisa or something to that effect, I can't remember the title right now, but he spoke about these things as well, mentioning a hadith. Also, he spoke in a time where women have begun to become marginalized in the religious life, and so he's encouraging women to study fiqh, to be aware of menstruation, the rules of menstruation, intimacy, and all these things, because if women don't know fiqh, then it's a problem. But he spoke about many, many things, again, all in line with Quran and Sunnah. Ibn al-Attar, the great Shafi scholar, he wrote on these things, halal and haram to do with women, specific issues to do with women. Obviously, halal and haram to do with women comes in fiqh anyway, it's part of fiqh discussions. But he wrote specifically on it. Jalaluddin Suyuti, in his capacity as a, Renaissance man who wrote on everything possible and impossible, he wrote about these things, right? He wrote about these things. He has a whole book dedicated. There's one particular book that's ascribed to him that's doubtful, but there's another book that is established as his, is Al-Wishah fi Fawad al-Nikah, right, which is a book totally on intercourse. So he spoke about these things. So here is Jalaluddin Suyuti, the author of Jalalain, the Tafsir Jalalain. This is Jalaluddin Suyuti, this author of books in Balagha, books in grammar, books in this polymath who writes on everything, and he's writing about these things. What does that tell us? It tells us this is part of our deen. This is part of our deen. Right? He had another book, I can't remember, the title escapes me now. Something about funny stories from female slaves. And there's a lot of funny stories that come up like that. And so the culture that we have, that things are so taboo that you couldn't talk about it, or it's so teenagerly funny that we have to talk about it all the time. This is just really immature when we come look at our culture. Siddiq Hassan Khan, late Indo-Pak scholar, he wrote as well on this, Husn al-Iswa, I believe the book is Husn al-Iswa. He wrote a book which is just a hadith to do with women. It's very useful, very nice collection, right? And so drawing on these books and drawing on the tradition in general, we want to talk about various topics. Inshallah, we'll mention them later on. And so the class is called De Femina. De Femina is taken from Aristotle's De Anima. on the soul. So this is on the female. But it's not really talking about the female itself. It's talking about males and females and the nature of gender and the nature of interaction between men and women and the nature of sexuality. So that is the introduction to the class. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.